Hello, and welcome to Leveling Up Your Master Data, Turning Data Products into Strategic Assets. I'm Nick Sather, your host for this session. And before we kick it off, I want to let everyone know that we do want to hear from you. So please use the Q&A tab to ask questions, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. I want to get us started here by introducing our speakers. Keith Bardman, who is manager with Precisely Strategic Services Consulting Group. He has data migration, governance, architecture, and data management experience from mainframes to cloud, and he has decades of experience as an advisor on data strategy, data governance, and architecture for many well-known companies across nearly every vertical. Jonathan Goldberg, who is director of product management, is responsible for our master data management at Precisely. He brings over 20 years of experience with master data, data governance, and taxonomy development. He has worked at major omni-channel retailers such as Best Buy, Target, Sleep Number, and Albertsons, along with several corporate clients building and operating master data systems. Jonathan has a deep passion to see his customers grow and optimize their business using master data tools. He is also a strong believer that good data helps businesses scale and optimize. Before I pass it off, a little bit about Precisely. Precisely empowers organizations all over the world, including 93 of the Fortune 100, to build trust in data. With decades of deep domain expertise and a unique combination of software, data strategy services, we work with clients across the journey to data integrity. In order for data to be trustworthy, it needs to be accurate, consistent, and contextual. And as you'll see later in this session, master data management is just one of the areas that Precisely brings robust solutions to the table with our deep domain expertise. And speaking of expertise, let's go ahead and dive in, and I will pass it over to you, Keith.
Okay, thanks, Jonathan, or Nick, sorry. Let's first talk about what happens when you can't trust your data. And you can tell that that's the case with these graphics because the guy in the top right's obviously having a bad day. He's not working remotely, he's on site, and he's got a tie on. So something's got to be really wrong. Over the years, our team at Precisely have worked with thousands of companies of almost every size. One of the most common themes we encounter is running into people that just don't trust the data, either because they know it's wrong, they don't know where it came from, they don't know who's responsible for it, a whole host of reasons. And most often it's the foundational data, the reference data and master data that really enable business transactions and reporting that turns out to be what they don't trust. This situation of trust has become exponentially worse as companies try and harness artificial intelligence, both things like large language models, generative AI, et cetera. They're finding that the data's got to be much, much better than what it's needs to be for transactional accuracy. AI can hallucinate. And on the next slide, I'm going to go into some of the results of a recent survey. So Nick, if you'd roll. Precisely partners with Drexel University to survey the marketplace and see how companies are doing with their data. And the first thing I want you to take away from this graphic is if you don't trust your data, you're not alone. It turns out that last year when we ran this survey, 55% of the organizations involved in the survey said that they don't completely trust their data. This year when we ran the survey, it's up to 67% of the organizations don't completely trust their data. It's also interesting to note that that's the most troubling statistic out of all of them. Of all the data challenges, trust or lack of trust is the biggest data challenge they face. Now, you need to know that this survey was over 500 data professionals across pretty much every company size, every industry vertical, and across the globe. So this is very representative. It's not US centric, it's truly international. Next slide, please, Nick. So I mentioned that AI is really driving a lot of the interest in data. And despite all the investments that companies have made in improving data integrity, improving data quality, and it's been at the forefront for quite a while. It turns out that the situation is even worse than it was last year, despite all that investment. 60% of respondents in this particular survey said that AI is one of the key initiatives that they've got going against their data. And yet, less than 12% says their data is really of sufficient quality and isn't really accessible for AI. So, what does that tell you? 67% in one survey don't trust their data, and it's the single biggest issue that they have around data. In yet another survey, 60% of the companies said AI is really driving and influencing what they're doing with data and their initiatives. And only 12% of them say their data is AI ready. Next slide, Nick. So this gets into why companies use data, how companies use data, and what the purpose of data is. And when it comes to AI, what you see more and more is companies preparing data products that they can then point the AI to. Yes, you can point AI to unstructured data, but the majority of the companies are first trying to understand exactly what a customer looks like, exactly what their products look like, those kinds of things, foundational stuff before they branch out and go into larger data sources. So trust in data, the things that are driving distrust, there's no standard definition of these data products that they're trying to use for both transactions and for reporting. People look at data as, oh, it's this table. Some people say, oh, I use the data that's in this system. Okay. IDC is the company that did the forecast. It's referenced on the bottom, and Gartner said that a data product, in other words, a collected, curated set of data that you use for business purpose, is broadly defined by three dimensions. Is it accessible? Is it valuable? And is it owned and maintained? Next slide, please, Nick. Here we've got a listing of the most common data domains we encounter. So products and services, parties, reference data, locations, all of these are data domains that we routinely encounter. And within those, every industry vertical has some master and reference data. So for example, if you're a manufacturer, consumer goods, you produce products. If you're in insurance, you produce insurance products. If you're in telecom, you provide services, you have assets. Everybody has parties, everybody has reference data. Point of this slide is that master data is the foundation for all other things data. Okay? And one of the key things we find that is a hallmark of successful companies when they're trying to produce trusted data products for business use is to take an approach of a kind of a product thinking mindset and a factory that produces data. So think about a factory that produces anything you want, automobiles, toothpaste, TVs, right? It's a repeatable process. It's very disciplined. The products in it were defined to meet a specific functional need to solve a particular problem. The customers for the products are identified. What the customer wants, what the customer cares about is well known. When it comes time to budget for producing the product and where to spend the money and what to include in the product, what features. It's an exercise in prioritization and validation based on knowing the customer and knowing the capabilities that you have and the data sets you have access to. Another key is you don't just start kicking the products out the door. You develop iteratively, you do some prototypes, you do some proof of concepts, you do testing before you get to the final product and the final data manufacturing process. And then just like any other manufacturing operation, your data factory needs to run using a host of the methodology that you use for manufacturing products, lean, things like that. Next slide, please. Benefits of having a data factory. Biggest thing when you're focused on your data factory for master data products is you want to produce a quality product so that it's trusted and it's compliant, not only with your internal standards, but any external standards that apply. For example, if you're packaging protected information for use internally, you need to make sure that it has the controls on it, the seals on the package, if you will. You need to accelerate your innovation. You need to think about advanced analytics. You need to make sure that the data set is complete enough to provide the context that's necessary to support those analytics. You want to set your data factory up so it becomes increasingly more efficient to regularly produce these data products and produce them very consistently. You want to cut down your cost, especially for the data products that are constantly being refreshed and updated, such as those that involve your customers or those that involve the catalog of products you offer. And then you want to make sure that the processes are very repeatable. You want to measure the capability of the processes you're applying to the data, and you want to make sure that you can then certify the data because it has been made using the processes you've defined and qualified. The data products are certified for particular business use cases. Next slide, please, Nick. A lot of people ask, well, that all sounds good, but how do you do that? What are the biggest challenges? And no surprise, the challenges in creating a data factory to produce data products are exactly the same challenges that have bedeviled people trying to get to better data for years. The biggest issue is culture and ownership of the data. Part of that is data exists in silos. It's only accessible to certain people. The best data is in places other people can't get to it. Another challenge is scalability and flexibility. If you produce or create a data factory and it produces products that are trusted, there's going to be more demand and you're going to need to scale that data factory, or your business is going to grow. And instead of 10,000 customers, you're going to have to deal with 100,000 customers. Security and compliance is an ongoing, evolutionary, constantly changing landscape that you've got to fit into. Countries pass laws, global data privacy regulations, India privacy regulations, Brazil, host of countries. You have protected data. You have controlled technology. All these kinds of things are constantly evolving. And so your data factory has to be able to upgrade to keep pace with that. And lastly, you've got to make sure not only is the feed into your data factory very robust and guaranteeing you quality in, you've also got to make sure that the products you produce in your data factory are distributed in such a way that they're still good when they get to the point of use. Next slide, please, Nick. So what does a data factory really look like? First, you have your raw materials. Depending on what kind of data, these could be data from manufacturer about their product. This could be rich content, videos, media, photos. It could be manuals for products. It could be manuals on how to take advantage of certain services. It could be social media, video, links. Then you've got the data factory itself, and it has basically three portions to it. The first is the receiving dock, where you receive and ingest the data. Then there's the actual manufacturing area where you curate the data, you merge data from multiple sources to create and pick the best data to create the actual raw data product. And then there's the packaging. You may produce a single data product that is then split apart and packaged based on who's going to be consuming it. And then the last piece, you can consider this the distribution piece, if you will, is getting the data in the appropriate freshness with the appropriate quality out to where it's going to be used, whether that's your website, whether it's social media postings, it's a portal that the customer surfaces your data, your web store, a third-party hosted web store for your products, broadcasts, because remember, this could the social media data could include, blogs and podcasts, and a host of other mechanisms for publishing the data. So again, keeping a data product mindset, always keep focus on the data product. Make sure you define the must-have data. Don't clutter things up with too much data. Make sure you have a common identifier or license plate so that you can always correlate the data and have traceability from source to publication. Make sure you're leveraging a common data structure. It's much easier to have a common structure that you use within the factory, and you convert your source data to that structure, and then you convert on publication to whatever they need. Survivorship rules within the curation on best data. And then again, repeatable process. This is not a one-time loop. Okay, this is, you're building a data factory to consistently produce refreshed versions of the data products. The frequency of refresh is dependent on what the product and the use case is. Next slide, Nick. So another thing to think about is optimizing the flow once you have the data record or the data factory set up. Over in the ingestion area, look at how you do inspection, how you do your mapping, how you preserve referential integrity, how you identify potential duplicates or actual duplicates, how you identify defects in the source data and what you do to get those corrected, and what the feedback is to the data sources. In the curation part of the factory, again, pick the best record. Make sure you've got alarms that go off when you detect anomalies. Make sure your enrichment process is consistent and is using the best sources. Make sure you have standards for content, and make sure you've got validation, built-in self-test, if you will. And then packaging, are we complete records? Are we standard subsets? Is there optional information? Do we need to certify? Bottom line, data factories are designed to give your customers the data that they expect at a quality level they expect, at a price they're willing to pay, and you've got to pay attention to detail. Next slide, please, Nick. I'm going to turn it over to Jonathan to talk about the MDM aspects and how you get to really trusted master data.
Thanks, Keith. We know products don't get used if they're not trusted, and this extends to data solutions as well. Master data won't get used if it isn't trusted. So here we've started to highlight some of the key features of trusted master data. It needs to be discoverable, self-describable, have good data quality, be governed, and actionable. Next slide, please. We solve this at Precisely using Precisely Enterworks. Enterworks helps us build trust in data with a variety of key capabilities. Enterworks has built a standard in MDM. We have a number of options to integrate multiple sources and destinations using our integration framework. We have an easy way to configure workflow and automation. We provide ways to incorporate true data governance and data quality using our configure first, not code So that way business users can maintain their data quality rules as well as their workflows. We have out-of-the-box SAP connectivity as well as connectivity with a number of other enterprise business tools. And we support large enterprise and complex scenarios in a very scalable way. Enterworks provides lots of flexibility to be your single source of truth for enterprise master data. Next slide, please. Master data is not as simple as it seems. It requires a lot of processes, people, and systems to work together to deliver accurate, consistent, and contextual data. This is data that you can trust, data with integrity. As we think about the Precisely Enterworks MDM solution, on the left, you'll see different inbound capabilities and data feeds using our integration platform into our multi-domain MDM. On the right, you'll see that we can syndicate, again, using our integration platform to a variety of different data sources, both inside your enterprise and outside. And really, this continuous flow of data is really important to making sure that your master data is easily accessible everywhere. In the middle, you see Enterworks at the center. This is our core capability with ingest, validate, consolidate, enrich, approve, and syndicate. This is a continuous flow trying to make sure that your golden records are always available and always of the highest quality. Master data management is all about taking data and processes that were once siloed and bringing them into a trusted central system. We start by collecting and cleansing data to create master records and then establish a standardized process for future record creation within MDM. Records are separated into domains, and each domain has its own data model and governance process. Organizations of all sizes and specialties need to manage domains of products, customers, vendors, assets, materials, and other domains when it comes to MDM. Enterworks provides this flexibility for you. Once we are managing these domains, we can do really powerful things because data belongs everywhere in the enterprise to be successful. Next slide, please. Data integrity is data that is accurate, consistent, and has context. We believe that you can more easily and effectively build data integrity when the core capabilities you need are working together. And that's why Precisely brings together a complete set of differentiated capabilities to support your data initiatives now and into the future. There are many different journeys that you can take to be able to deliver this data integrity. Today, we spoke about the value of multi-domain MDM, but Precisely delivers MDM to support you in every step along the way of your data journey. This allows you to bring together all of the data your business generates, including complex mainframe data, enterprise or ERP data, as well as other third-party data sources. You can catalog, cleanse, and validate your data so that users can find it, understand it, and trust it. We ensure proper governance of your data and management within your MDM as well as across your enterprise. And we can enrich it with third-party data sets and spatial insights. We activate data for optimal decision-making and customer communication and really help your enterprise run more efficiently. Next slide. At the root, we really need to make sure that your data is well organized and structured to make all of these tools work well. And this is where Precisely Strategic Services comes in. They can help you develop your data strategy, your organizational enablement, operations, and really help you recognize the value of all of the data when put together. Strategic Services helps you in an agnostic way assemble this picture and bring everything together for valuable output. Next slide, please. Precisely differentiates ourselves with this unique combination of multi-domain MDM, our data integrity suite, and our deep domain experience. Together, these help deliver a very valuable solution. And I'll let Nick wrap up on the next slide.
Awesome. Thank you, Jonathan. I really appreciate it. As we think about the takeaways here, data products are really, we started off by talking about how data products are really crucial tools that can enhance customer experience, streamline your operations, and offer several competitive advantages. Master data is also really one of the most critical aspects of data products, and therefore it needs to be trusted and trustworthy. The third takeaway here: adopt a data factory. Consider adopting a data factory approach to create that quality master data that would go into these data products. And then lastly, data integrity allows optimizes your master data to be loved, to go into data products and anywhere it needs to go in the business. So those are the 4 session takeaways. I will end it here. But that's really just the beginning. So if you want to see more, we can schedule a demo to show you what it looks like in action. If you're not sure where to start, you can schedule a conversation with the Precisely experts. Perhaps somebody on our strategic services team like Keith, who's implemented these programs countless times, and can really help you with these ideas that we've discussed today and how to get going successfully with them. And I also can't recommend enough our resource center on our website to learn more about Enterworks, our MDM strategies, or even how current topics like AI are affecting your market. So we're not able to respond to questions immediately, but please put them in the chat, and I promise you we will review them and get back to you as soon as we can with an answer.